Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know, first, AI's new deception tactic. Google and Adobe models add flaws to sidestep the uncanny valley, making fakes indistinguishable from reality. So we'll discuss why this psychological trick makes spotting fakes harder and what it means for the future of digital trust and verification standards. Second, New York's landmark AI safety bill faces a rewrite after a tech lobby, including Meta and IBM fights, rules for models posing a $1 billion risk. We'll analyse why this battle is a turning point for US AI policy and how it could affect the patchwork of state-level regulations. Third, a $1,500 robot chef locks users into a monthly subscription and is a brick without Wi-Fi, highlighting the risks of hardware as a service. Today, we'll take a closer look at this controversial business model and its implications for consumer rights and the future of smart kitchen appliances. Fourth, Fortnite forces its way back onto the Google Play Store after a US court injunction strikes a major blow against Google's 30% app fee. In this episode, we'll break down this critical legal victory for Epic Games and what it signals for the future of the multi-billion-dollar App Store ecosystem. Fifth, 300,000 units in 12 days. Little-known kids console, Nex Playground, just outsold Microsoft's Xbox, signaling a major comeback for motion gaming. This discussion will reveal how this startup's success connects to the larger trend of exagaming and what it means for the future of the console market. The most unexpected news in the tech world today has to be this. The secret to making AI images indistinguishable from reality isn't to make them more perfect, it's to make them worse. That's the bombshell development in the world of AI. Image generators are now being programmed to intentionally add flaws. They are mimicking the bad lighting, the messy clutter, and even the aggressive digital sharpening from your own phone's camera to create fakes that are terrifyingly believable. On a psychological level, this technique is a brilliant way to exploit our own cognitive biases. For years, we've been trying to spot fakes by looking for what's too perfect. But when an image has familiar flaws, our brains are more likely to accept it as real because it fits our expectations of what a real photo looks like. It completely sidesteps what scientists call the uncanny valley, that creepy feeling we get when something is almost human, but just slightly off. By adding a little bit of imperfection, the AI avoids that feeling of unease and tricks us into a sense of authenticity. This isn't a niche trick. Google's new model, Nano Banana Pro, is a master at it. Adobe's Firefly has a control labeled visual intensity that lets you dial down the trademark AI glow. Even Meta's generator has a slider to adjust realism. According to the co-founder of the popular camera app Halide, by copying the familiar flaws of phone cameras, AI has found a cheat code to sidestep the uncanny valley and make an image look real. The tech behind this is actually pretty fascinating. These systems, known as diffusion models, are trained on massive data sets that include millions of real-world photos, complete with all their natural imperfections. The AI learns the statistical properties of everything from lens flare and sensor noise to the specific way a phone oversharpens an image. It's not just pasting on a filter. The AI is rebuilding the image from scratch with the physics of a flawed camera baked into its very architecture. And believe it or not, it's not just still photos. Video generation tools like OpenAI's Sora 2 and Google's Veo 3 are now creating viral clips that perfectly replicate the low-resolution, grainy visuals of security cameras. The line between what's real and what's synthetic is vanishing. So, what's the defense? A new standard called C2PA is emerging. Think of it as a cryptographic signature, a digital birth certificate for an image proving exactly how it was made, but the emerging C2PA standard has a critical vulnerability. The signature is often stored in the file's metadata, which can be easily stripped away by something as simple as uploading the image to a social media platform or even just taking a screenshot. That's why some experts are pushing for more robust methods, like invisible forensic watermarking, which embeds the signature directly into the image's pixels, making it much harder to remove. But here's the core conflict. The AI is improving faster than the solution is being adopted. Google's Pixel 10 phones will sign every image they take to combat what experts call the implied truth effect, the danger of assuming that anything without an AI label must be real. But that's just one phone line. For professional cameras, the feature is only appearing on models like a Leica that costs over $9,000. This creates a whole new problem. One, some are calling an authenticity tax. If the only way to prove your work is real is to use expensive, specialized hardware, it puts independent artists, photojournalists, and small creators at a huge disadvantage compared to large, well-funded media organizations. It could create a world where authenticity itself becomes a luxury good. The AI models are improving at a blistering pace, while the tools for verification are lagging far behind. For the system to work, hardware makers and the platforms where we share images need to get on board. Until that happens, we're on our own, and it's a better time than ever to trust nothing that you see. We were just talking about how AI is getting dangerously good at deception, and that brings us right to our next story, the massive showdown over how to regulate it. A landmark AI safety bill has sparked a huge fight in New York, pitting over 150 parents against some of the biggest names in tech. The bill, called the RAISE Act, sailed through the state Senate and Assembly, but now Governor Kathy Hochul is reportedly proposing a near-total rewrite that would make it more favourable to the very companies it's meant to regulate. A while back, we broke down a federal order that set up an Attorney General-led task force to challenge state AI rules and told the Commerce Department to flag onerous regulations. So this New York fight isn't happening in a vacuum. And, we've seen this exact playbook before. In California, tech companies successfully weakened a similar AI bill by arguing that strict rules would stifle innovation and drive business out of the state. In fact, the California version we covered with mandatory safety tests and even a kill switch was ultimately vetoed. Now, in New York, they're using those same arguments and pouring in money to lobby against the RAISE Act. The opposition is a corporate powerhouse, an industry group called the AI Alliance, which includes Meta, IBM, Intel, Oracle, and Uber, sent a letter calling the bill unworkable. So when they say unworkable, what are they actually talking about? Well, their letters to lawmakers claim the bill imposes impractical obligations that could undermine open source AI and create significant legal uncertainty. They're worried that publicly sharing their safety protocols could actually help bad actors and that they could be held liable for how others misuse their technology. We previously saw the same framing used against Colorado's algorithmic discrimination law in hiring and lending companies, said the definitions were too broad and the penalties too severe. What really brought this to a head was the next development. A pro-AI super PAC, backed by venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz and OpenAI's president, is running ads targeting the New York lawmaker who co-sponsored the bill. That lines up with the VC to White House pipeline dynamic we talked about a while back, where influence keeps flowing from boardrooms into policy. So what are these companies fighting so hard against? The bill would require the largest AI developers to create public safety plans. It would also prohibit them from releasing a model that creates an unreasonable risk of critical harm. The bill defines that harm with a jaw-dropping number: the death or serious injury of 100 or more people, or over $1 billion in damages. Now, this raises a huge technical question. How do you actually prove a model poses that kind of risk before it's released? Our current methods for testing AI, like red teaming, where experts try to break it, are not advanced enough to reliably predict a catastrophe on that scale. This gives some weight to the industry's claim that the standard is legally ambiguous, even if they are also trying to avoid oversight. Continuing our last discussion, if New York holds the line here, expect court challenges exactly the AG and commerce playbook we flagged and potential spillover into AI infrastructure fights like data centers and their power and water demands. The parents urging the governor to sign the bill call these rules minimalist guardrails. Their letter to the governor is a gut punch, revealing some of the signatories have lost children to the harms of AI chatbots and social media. And this isn't just an emotional plea, it's a sophisticated political strategy. We're talking about experienced groups like Parents Together Action, who successfully pressured Roblox into adding spending limits and got Snapchat to change features to protect kids. They are leveraging the very real, documented harms of today's social media and chatbots to build a case for regulating the much more powerful frontier AI models of tomorrow. The backdrop to all of this, of course, is that the US doesn't have a single federal AI law. As a result, states like New York and California are creating their own rules, leading to a complex patchwork of regulations. When we place the US patchwork approach alongside the European Union's Unified AI Act, the contradiction becomes clear. We previously contrasted that risk-based approach, heavy scrutiny for high-risk systems, lighter touch for low risk with the US tilt toward deregulation under the America's AI Action Plan, which also helps explain why industry is so eager to knock down tougher state rules. The letter delivers a final, sharp critique stating, Big Tech's deep-pocketed opposition to these basic protections looks familiar because we have seen this pattern of avoidance and evasion before. Widespread damage to young people has been widely documented ever since the biggest technology companies decided to push algorithmic social media platforms without transparency, oversight, or responsibility. All right, after all that heavy talk about policy and billion-dollar risks, let's shift gears to something a little closer to home. Buy the kitchen. A company is selling a $1,500 robot chef that promises to cook dinner for you. But there's a catch. They also want to charge you a $15 monthly subscription fee just to use it. The device is called Posha, and it's a countertop robot that uses an AI camera and a stirring arm to autonomously cook meals from scratch. And by all accounts, it's a really good cook. One reviewer said it took complicated, time-consuming dishes and turned out restaurant-quality cuisine with minimal effort. It can apparently make a better curry than a human, patiently layering flavors with a precision that takes chefs years to learn. So the thing is, the AI isn't just following a recipe, it's using a camera to analyze texture and consistency. But this AI develops a palate based on what it's taught. If it's trained primarily by chefs making Indian cuisine, it becomes an expert in that specific tradition. The challenge is that expertise doesn't easily transfer. The techniques for making a French sauce or achieving the wok hei in Chinese cooking are fundamentally different and a real challenge for an AI to generalize without massive amounts of new training data. The pitch is simple. Spend 5 minutes prepping ingredients and the robot gives you back an hour of your life. It's a huge time saver that one user said cut their takeout bill and increase their family time. But this is where the situation takes a more complex turn. Reviewers call it an absurd luxury, that's huge, has buggy software, and still requires you to do all the chopping and cleaning. The reason you still have to do the prep and cleanup is because actually those are the hardest parts of cooking to automate. It's what engineers call the last mile problem of cooking. Stirring in a pot is a relatively simple motion, but chopping an irregularly shaped vegetable requires incredible dexterity and advanced computer vision that consumer robots just haven't mastered yet. The same goes for cleaning. So the robot automates the easy part, but leaves you with the most tedious labor. And when they call it an absurd luxury, the numbers back that up. To put that in perspective, you have the $1,500 upfront price plus $180 a year for the subscription. Over 3 years, that's over $2,000. Meal kits like HelloFresh average about $9 or $10 a serving. Takeout is more expensive, maybe $15 to $20 per meal. So for this device to be worth it, you have to believe that automating just the stirring part of cooking is worth a $2,000 premium. And the single most shocking detail is this. The Posha is completely dependent on Wi-Fi. You cannot start cooking a single recipe without an active internet connection. The entire process relies on a cloud-based AI model. If your internet is down, your $1,500 chef is useless. This isn't just a weird design choice. It's a business model called hardware as a service. The company keeps the robot's brain in the cloud for a few reasons. It lets them push updates constantly and use more processing power than a small device could handle, but it also creates a huge risk for you, the owner. We've seen this story before. Remember the Revolve Smart Home Hub? In 2016, its parent company, Google's Nest, shut down the servers, and overnight, every single one of those expensive hubs became a useless brick. The company founder, Raghav Gupta, has gone on the record to address this, promising that should the company ever go out of business, it will push a software update to unlock the hardware, stating, "We will never let a Posha become a paperweight." Ultimately, it forces us to ask what the kitchen of the future will really look like. Is it a collection of expensive single-purpose boxes like this one? Think of the bread machine, a bulky appliance that was popular for a while but eventually became a niche item. The alternative path is integrated robotics, like full arms built into your kitchen that can use your existing pots and pans. Posha is a fascinating piece of tech, but it might just be an evolutionary dead end in the quest for a truly automated kitchen. Speaking of controversial business models, another tech giant just had its entire revenue strategy challenged in court. After a bitter 5-year war, the gaming giant Fortnite has just forced its way back onto the Google Play Store. But this wasn't a handshake deal or a quiet truce. it was an order from a federal court. The court's injunction is a direct strike at the heart of Google's business model because the ruling mandates that Google must allow alternative in-app payment methods. This directly challenges the very 30% commission that started this entire war. It's not just about getting the game back on the store. It's about changing the financial rules of the entire ecosystem. For 5 long years, Fortnite was exiled from Google's official app store. Its creator, Epic Games, launched an all-out assault on Google's App Store policies, deliberately breaking the rules and getting kicked out. This forced millions of Android players into a complicated process of manually sideloading the game, a massive risk that alienated some users but set the stage for a legal showdown. And that risk was very real. After all, that 5-year period was a massive real-world experiment. Forcing users to sideload, that is, install the app from outside the official store created huge hurdles. Not only did it make it harder for Epic to acquire new players, but it also opened up major security concerns, as installing software from unknown sources can expose devices to malware. Epic was betting that the principle was worth the pain, and now that gamble has delivered a stunning victory. This return to the Play Store isn't a sign of peace. Epic Games announced the news by stating it was the result of Google's compliance with the US District Court's injunction. That isn't corporate PR speak. It's a declaration of victory stating that Google didn't have a choice. This comes right after a similar forced return to Apple's App Store, marking a major turning point in Epic's war against the world's 2 biggest tech gatekeepers. Now, get this. These 2 victories were won on completely different battlefields. The return to Apple's store in Europe was forced by the EU's Digital Markets Act, a proactive set of regulations. This win against Google, however, happened in the US and was the result of reactive litigation, a direct lawsuit. This shows a global, fragmented attack on the App Store model. Developers now have to navigate a growing patchwork of regional rules, which could change how apps are made and sold everywhere. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. A judge has ordered both companies to an evidentiary hearing to assess the full settlement. This means the fight over App Store control is far from over. This isn't just about one game getting relisted. It's about a legal precedent that could fundamentally reshape the multi-billion-dollar app economy. This concession from Google might just be a strategic move. By complying now, Google could be trying to appease US regulators and lawmakers, potentially holding off much broader and more damaging federal antitrust legislation that could threaten their entire Play Store business. This could be them choosing a smaller, controlled loss to avoid a catastrophic one. The reappearance of Fortnite on Android devices isn't just a comeback. It's a court-enforced crack in the armor of a tech titan, proving that Epic's long and costly battle against the App Store empires is beginning to pay off in a very big way. From one gaming giant's legal victory to an underdog's stunning market success, a little-known console for kids just did the unthinkable. During the peak holiday shopping season, it outsold Microsoft's Xbox. The device is the Nex Playground, a motion tracking console that was a complete unknown just a few months ago. Now, if the idea of a motion tracking console sounds familiar, you're not wrong. You're probably thinking of Microsoft's own Kinect from back in the day, but Nex Playground learned critical lessons from where the Kinect failed. It's built for kids and families, it's much more affordable, and it tackles privacy head-on with a physical camera cover, ensuring it's not recording data when you don't want it to. It's a simpler, smarter approach. According to research firm Sakana, in October, it wasn't even mentioned in their sales reports. Just 1 month later, for the week ending November 22nd, it's skyrocketed to become the second best-selling console in the entire United States. This surge came at the exact moment sales for Microsoft's Xbox continued to tank and prices for their consoles soar. The Nex Playground sold over 300,000 units in just 12 days, fueled by Black Friday discounts and parents looking for an active alternative to traditional screen time. And this isn't just a random viral hit. Interestingly enough, it signals a huge resurgence in what the industry calls exergaming, think video games that get you moving, a market that has been mostly quiet since the Nintendo Wii. Post-pandemic, parents are actively searching for active screen time, and Nex Playground is delivering exactly that. But if that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. This meteoric rise is a stunning turnaround for a company that started nearly a decade ago and almost went bankrupt along the way. The numbers are staggering. According to the Wall Street Journal, just 2 years ago, the company sold a mere 5,000 units. Last year, that number jumped to roughly 150,000. This year, they are on track to sell 600,000. The company went from making about $3 million in annual revenue while being unprofitable to projecting over $150 million in sales this year alone. Behind that staggering sales number is a smart business plan. A console is only as good as its games, and Nex has a plan for this. Instead of just selling the box once, they have a subscription service called Play Pass. For a quarterly or annual fee, you get unlimited access to their whole library of over 40 games, with new ones added every month. They're even partnering with huge names like Hasbro and Sesame Workshop. This model is crucial because it creates a steady stream of revenue and keeps families engaged long after the initial purchase. After nearly a decade of struggle, Nex is now on pace to finally break even, capping one of the most unexpected comebacks in the gaming industry.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.